Welcome to Comet Computer Private Limited e-learning program of hardware networking. We are going to discuss about SMPS, that is switched mode power supply, which is a power supply device for the computer to work. So SMPS is switched mode power supply. It is an electronic circuit converts power either with the use of switching devices that turn on and off at higher frequencies or with the help of inductors or capacitors to supply power when the switching devices is a non-conductive conduction state. So all the computers will be having a SMPS box along with the system box, right? The power supply is provided. That power supply is called as SMPS. So it is a regulated power supply because we are getting the raw power, so we cannot directly feed it. So we'll have to get the different types of power supply, right? Plus 5, minus 5, then plus 12, minus 12, minus 3.3, plus. So there are different volts available. So to regulate those power supplies, then from the incoming AC power supply, so we'll have to convert into DC, and accordingly we'll have to provide different levels of voltages. One with the higher voltage, one with the lower voltage, right? So that is being performed using the SMPS. So it is feeding the power to the motherboard. Motherboard, you have lot of components, right? Memory modules, processor, and other integrated circuits, controllers. Lot of controllers are available: sound controller, network controller. So for everything it has to provide the power, and you will have additional connectors where it will connect it to your hard disk, CD-ROM drive, then your additional devices, whatever devices you have connected. So it will be providing a power supply to those devices also. So this is a switched mode power supply, which is regulated DC voltage you are getting from the power supply. So you need not buy it separately, whereas it will be coming along with the cabinet. So whoever is manufacturing the cabinet for or chassis for the computer, they will also fit the SMPS along with the cabinet. If at all there is a faulty, then you can remove the SMPS and replace the SMPS, right? Otherwise, it is available as a bundled thing with the chassis. So advantage of SMPS compared to linear power supply. Earlier we had a old power supply. It was heavily weight, and because those time the electronic circuits are not that much improved, developed. So because of that you had a heavy power supply. But later, after we have a development in the technology, so we got a small sized power supply, and it is lesser in weight, smaller in size, higher efficiency. We are getting a clear throughput from the power supply, lower power dissipation, so heat dissipation is less, wide AC input voltage range, so it supports from lower voltage to the higher voltage, right? 110 voltage to 240 voltage, uh, reduced cost. So this is the advantage of SMPS. Disadvantage is complexity of the circuit. If at all any IC is gone or any of the component is gone in SMPS, so you need to have some electronic knowledge to do a troubleshooting component motherboard level, replace it. Sometimes you have to use a soldering and do the replacement. But for the introduction level, I mean, for the people who are all entering into the industry as a fresher, or they wanted to join into the desktop hardware, are residential customers, right? People working from home, so they cannot do all these things, right? IC level replacement and all. But what troubleshooting we can do, or what we can understand, is whether the SMPS is working or not, whether my motherboard, my computer is getting the power supply or not. To that level we'll get the troubleshooting done for this particular session. So we cannot go chip level servicing in the session. So working diagram of SMPS. So the SMPS gets the raw power from the main circuit. But normally, what we recommend in the real time, whether it is in office or whether it is residence, right? So we need to have a UPS, right? Uninterrupted power supply. Okay, don't confuse with SMPS and UPS. UPS is an uninterrupted power supply. That is ensuring you that even the raw power from the electricity board is down, it is ensuring you will get power supply from the UPS device, because that will have some battery. So it will be storing the charges during the power available, AC to DC. It will store the data into the store the charges into the battery. So when the power is down, the battery will provide the DC. The converter circuits will convert the DC into AC. So still you will get the power supply from the UPS for another 10-15 minutes based on the capacity of the UPS, I'm saying. In case of the office, they will have higher battery capacity, so even 2 hours, 3 hours also you can run with the battery power supply. While the generator is getting ready, you can run the show with battery UPS power supply. So in case of residence, you will have small SMPS, right? So that battery can come for 10-15 minutes. So within the 10 minutes, you have to save the data and close the system properly, so you can avoid abrupt closing or hard disk crash, all those things. That's the reason you need to have a UPS power supply. So from the UPS also you will be getting 230 volt, but it is regular standardized, right? In case of raw power, you will have some fluctuations in the input, so those things you can avoid if you have a UPS power supply. Okay, so coming to the SMPS, so you are getting a standard 230 volt power supply, that is a single phase, right? The voltage can fluctuate from 110 volt to 230. So still the SMPS can take the input and convert the data into, I mean, convert the voltage into output voltage. So you'll have a rectifier and filter to arrest to convert AC to DC. You'll have a full wave rectifier, and filters will be there to suppress the other disturbances, noise, and other things, right? Then inverter chopper, so output transformer, output rectifier, and filter, right? So it converts that AC into DC. The input will be AC, the output given to the motherboards are into DC. Then you'll have a closed loop circuit, so it will ensure that you are getting a proper power supply. This is a simple diagram just to understand. So otherwise, simply what we can say, you are feeding AC power supply to the SMPS. It has electronic circuits to convert that AC into DC, and it is also filtering the other disturbances in the electrical signals, right? So it gives pure DC to the electronic components, right, with the help of the converters and other filters available. So you have AT SMPS, ATX SMPS, micro ATX. So there are three different types of SMPS, because motherboard technology, based on the motherboard technology, we also had different types of power supply provided. So let's see. So this is the ATX SMPS pin details. So you can see like 3.3 volt ground, 5 volt power OK. So this power OK signal is to ensure that you are getting a proper power from the device. This signal is available, and these are the other pins. So this is the 24 pin connector, and we have provided the voltage available from the thing. So always red color is +5. You can just make a note of it. Red color will be 5 voltage +5. Yellow is +12. Black is ground. Orange is 3.3. So these are the standard one. Purple is +5 DC. Okay, so orange is 3.3. So these are the standard outcomes you are getting from the power supply. So these are all the connectors. So 20 or 24 pin ATX connector, 4 pin Molex ID connector. So for connecting hard disk, you will have this 4 pin connector, bigger one. For connecting floppy, you will have a smaller connector, but 4 pin only. Then SATA power connector. For SATA hard disk, you need to have a power supply, right? So for SATA power supply, power connector. SMPS parts and connectors. So mainly you will have this is the view from outside. So one, you will give a power in, the AC input you will give, and for the same AC will be parallel it is given, so you can connect the monitor. So that is not the filtered one. So in normally you will have only one plug point. In most other places you will not have multiple plug points, right? So what they will do, from the SMPS itself you can connect to the monitor. So that is how they provided in the older days, but now no, we are getting LED monitor, LCD monitor separately, that we can plug it separately to the main power supply itself. So here also you are not going to get any filter and all. Okay, so same parallel connection you are going to get. So that is the normal available in the power supply. And you will have a SMPS fan. So this is helping you to make the components cooler and dissipate the heat from the SMPS. You will not get that much heat, but still you need to push the heat out, right? Otherwise, no, the electronic circuits will get heated and the quality will be reduced. And one more thing, if the fan rotates, then we can understand the SMPS is working or not. Just to have a layman troubleshooting, people will say my computer is not working, right? So how to identify? First thing, once you power on the switch, the SMPS getting powered on, right? Through SMPS only you are going to switch on the system. But if SMPS is working, then immediately the SMPS fan will rotate. If SMPS is not working, then I mean the fan will not rotate and the front LED will not glow. So this is a simple way of understanding whether SMPS is working or not. Okay, so I'll show you two pin connections which will firmly tell that the fan is connected from the motherboard indirectly. So it is ensuring that your power supply is good or not, power good or not. Okay, that we can check. So this is ATX connector. So this is the 24 pin female connector, you can see, right? You'll have in the motherboard discussion we have shown you the connector in the motherboard, but this is the power supply. So here you have the projection available. So that the other motherboard side also you'll have this kind of setup. So it is ensuring that you are connecting in the correct direction. Also you have a dummy pin, right? So in motherboard also you'll have a dummy pin. So if at all you reverse it, so this holes will be hitting, and here the pin will not go inside. So manufacturers are helping us to insert the power connector properly, but sometimes the engineers or people don't know. They'll just force it, right? So this particular pin will get damaged in the motherboard. Then you have to go for replacing the motherboard itself. So worst case. Then you'll get 12 volt ATX connector. Latest SMPS power supply is having that. So this is for energizing the processing unit and other components of the motherboard. This is to this will be provided some additional power supply if required. Okay. AT connectors. This is the old one. So here you can see 2 into 6 pins each, right? So in motherboard technologies we have seen how to connect the wires. So each both the blacks should be together and connected to the motherboard. So 12 pins. So you cannot reverse it physically, you cannot reverse it, but if at all you force, then motherboard pin or motherboard will get damaged. So ensure that both the black joints are together and insert it. So you're getting plus 5 minus 5 and plus 12 minus 12 volts. And orange color is the power good signal. So if the power supply is good, you will get the signal from that wire. If there is any issue, it will not be giving the signal. So using multimeter you can measure it. If at all you are not getting 5 volt in that orange color wire, then also you can assume the power supply is having some technical problem. So even though the SMPS fan is rotating, but still motherboard is not powering on, right? So you don't know what is the problem, right? Then you should measure the voltage in the orange color wire and black. Just take two tips of multimeter and measure it. You are getting plus 5 volt, means there is no problem in the motherboard, I mean no problem in the power supply. Still there is some issue in the motherboard. Okay, otherwise power supply SMPS is not good. Probably you can test it by connecting different SMPS, then your system should be powering on. Then you can replace the SMPS or service the SMPS. So this is the 4 pin connector for connecting hard disk, and SATA is a different one. It will be very flat. So how to check the SMPS functioning before connecting to the motherboard? You are purchasing a chassis, right? From the market you are purchasing a chassis. So chassis has the SMPS inbuilt. They are already connected. So in shops, you want to test whether the SMPS is working or not, because once you bring it to the home, then if it is not working, then you have to take it back. So you'll be wasting time, right? So to ensure that it is working fine, what we are going to do is take a small piece of wire, sharpen at both the corners. So insert one wire in green color, so the other wire in black color, right? So properly, don't make short, right? So both the things you have to connect. Just switch on the wire and switch on the power supply. then immediately the fan will rotate, right? So if the fan rotates, then we can assume that the SMPS power supply is working fine or not. So for this, you need not test it with the motherboard, right? So motherboard is not required. So you can just insert the wires and switch on. It will the fan should rotate. Otherwise, there is a problem in the SMPS. So you can replace the chassis or replace the SMPS. Okay, this is how you test it in the layman side. So these are the parts and connectors available. So if you open the SMPS, mostly it will be available like this. So you'll have different types of capacitors, coils, and heat sink, right? Most of the heat sink, you are seeing the heat sink, right? MOSFETs are provided in the heat sink. You'll have transformers to convert your high voltage into low voltage. So this is the entire components of SMPS. So still having a clear view. Okay, so different people will have different types of methodology, but normally what we see in the first slide, so you will have connectors, converters, and coils to reduce the disturbances in the electrical signals and provide the proper output. Okay, so there are different types of issues arising in the SMPS power supply. One is any power on system or any power on or system startup failures or lockups. So the system, the SMPS is not getting powered on. System is also not coming up, right? So that is one kind of issue. Spontaneous rebooting or intermittent lockups during normal operation. So system is automatically getting rebooted. You don't know what is the problem. That may be because of virus, but before going to that, you have to ensure your SMPS is giving a proper power supply or there is no short circuit. You can check it using your multimeter, or you can check the power good signal whether the signal is good or not. Orange wire, you have to test it. Orange wire and black wire. Okay, you should get +5. Otherwise, you have to change the SMPS. Intermittent parity check or other memory type errors. Hard disk and fan simultaneously failing to spin. So hard disk also not giving the sound that it is reading or writing, or fan failing to spin. So the power supply to the hard disk is not available. Overheating due to fan failure. So um, if SMPS is working but SMPS fan is not working, there will be more heat dissipation inside the SMPS. So obviously the SMPS will get more heated. Or if the system chases fan is not working also, the system components will get more heated and system will go for a halt. Small burnouts cause the system to reset. Yes, if there is any short circuit, there will be a problem. Electric shocks felt on the system case or connectors. So if your earthing is not proper, you are connecting three pins, right? One is phase, one is neutral. Left side is so the top one is the neutral, right side is the phase, left side is a um, neutral, and top one is the earth. So these are the three pins available. So if the earth for the home is not properly given, so there is a something called earthing. When we are doing the electrical wiring from the EB electricity board, they'll be giving the earth point also. So otherwise, we have to do the earthing for our home separately and connect it to the main board. So from there we'll be taking the earthing to all the plug points, right? So if the earthing is not proper, then you will get a reverse current. So if you touch the chase, you'll get a shock. Okay, sometimes it will be harder. So you should not have that kind of thing, because it may damage the electronic components because of the earthing problem. Okay, so better to rectify the problem, you have to call the any electrical person. So ask them to do a proper earthing and test it. Okay, so that is very serious issue. Slight static discharges disturb system operation. System is completely dead. No fan, no cursor, nothing. Or smoke is coming from the SMPS. Blown circuit breaker. So if you open the SMPS, you are seeing some of the black portion, so it means it is burnout or damaged. So all these things happen because of improper power supply, improper earthing, or there is no UPS available for the system to get feeded, right? So all these things, sometimes now you reside near the industrial area or near your house, there will be lot of small companies. They are running motors for doing the regular work, grinding work, lathe machines. So if you are having some machineries like this in your street and you are getting connected to the same kind of transformer, right? If you take a street will have a transformer, all the people will getting the feed from the transformer only. So if you have this kind of machineries next to you or in the street or in the same transformer, definitely there will be some fluctuations because those are all more power consuming devices. So if the transformer is not functioning properly, definitely you will have some fluctuation. Even it will be affecting your air conditioner, fridge, all those equipments. Okay, so if at all you are facing this kind of problem, first you have to report it to the electricity board and ensure you have proper voltage, there is no fluctuation, and you have proper earthing. So if at all you have those kind of machinery based residents available, you have to tell them to take the power supply from a different line, okay, not from the same line where we are taking. There will be three phase available, right? So they can take it from a different line, okay, so that the electricity board will take care if you provide a complaint. Those are all the things. It will be damaging your power supply and damage the chase, right? So a normal smps will cost you some thousand rupees. So if there is no proper power supply, you'll have to go for changing the smps. Even if smps goes, you will pay 1000 rupees, you'll replace it. But the motherboard goes, it will be 5000 or 6000, right? If hard disk goes, it is again 5000, 6000. So it is too costly. So if you are not having proper power supply, incoming power supply, or proper earthing, definitely you are going to pay more for it. Okay, so to ensure that, please check in your area, in your residence, you have proper power supply available. So some of the interview tips: what is full form of smps? Yes, switch mode power supply converts dc to ac or ac to dc. So what are the output voltages available? You know, right? So I gave the table. So you have to see what is the voltage of red color wire, orange color wire, green color wire, black, right? And the other one, right? So you'll have to keep remembering of these voltages. What is PSU? Power supply unit. Power consumption of a desktop, it will be 150 watts to 200 watts. Earlier we had a CRT monitor, right, bigger one, so that will be consuming more power, 50 watts or 80 watts also, because of the size of the CRT tubes. Now we have LCD or LED that consumes only 30 watts to 40 watts, right? So the entire power supply is getting saved, and also you are reducing or avoiding the heat effects. If at all you have a CRC, it will be generating more heat. Okay, so the entire room will become a heat, right? And definitely you need to have a AC power supply, AC for cooling the room. If you have LCD or LED, it will not dissipate that much heat, and power supply consumption is also getting reduced. Servers, that will be having different power supply. We cannot say how much because it is differing, right? A small end server, medium or higher end servers, so it will consume different types of powers. So for desktop, if at all anybody is asking, you can say minimum 150 watts to 200 watts, including the monitor, the entire setup. Okay, so this is 150 watts to 200 watts. A laptop will consume minimum 150 watts because it is a advanced device and low charging, low consumption device. So definitely you will have only 150 watts consumption. How much power does system consumes during sleep mode? Sleep mode is it is available in the operating system like a screensaver. You can put the machine in sleep mode instead of shutdown in the offices, right? Normal corporate offices, we keep the machines in a sleep mode without shut down the system. So in normal operation, it consumes 150 to 200 watts or 300 watts because in office you may have big monitors, big systems, right? So it may consume 300 watts also, not like your residential computer. Whereas if you put the machine in sleep mode, it will consume only 5 to 10 watts. So this is the power save option, power management in the operating system as well as in the hardware. So that consumes very less power. What is the difference between sleep mode and hibernate? So sleep mode, normally Hibernate is provided in the laptops for saving the data. Sleep mode is making your system power supply go down. It will consume only less amount of power. It will keep the main functionalities of the processor and other components alive. Other things will be closed. Whenever you just click on mouse button or keyboard button, it will just wake up and consume the normal power. So Hibernate is it will be saving the data into the hard disk, and normally it is provided in the laptop's connection, right? So That will be helping you to save the power supply as well as save the data. What is importance of earthing power supply? Just now we discussed. So what are the things we can do with the earthing? Power good signal, power okay signal. So just to ensure the power supply is working fine, you have to test it via SMP, multimeter. Find out whether the power supply is coming good or not. What is OTP? It is not one-time password. It is over temperature protection. So it is nothing but if your SMPS power supply is, power heat is going high, automatically the system will be shut down, right? Instead of taking you to the level of burning or bursting, so safer side, it will be shutting down the system automatically. So this is the optional protection available in the SMPS. So we have come to the end of the topic. Thank you very much.